Good morning and welcome to MOTH News. It is 11 o'clock Irish time. My name is Keith Walsh. We're joined by Oscar and we're joined by Al. This is your unfiltered news. This is what you won't see in the mainstream media. Not this version of it anyway, not the truth. You can, wherever you're watching us, you can contact us by just leaving a little message. And if you're watching on X, you can message us there. We will see all the messages and we do like to respond to them, so get those. I'm a bit croaky today because I was at a wedding last night, got to bed about 1:30. I'm not a drinker, I don't drink, but for some reason at a wedding you have to shout, so you have to scream the lyric of Maniac 2000 at the top of your voice, and I did a lot of singing and a lot of shouting lyrics like The Killers, I'm Mr. Brightside, the classic wedding night floor fillers. Al, would you get up for Mr. Brightside at a wedding? Tie around the head?
100%.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't even have to hesitate. I have done that. Yeah. I got the moves, Keith. I got the moves, man.
Definitely.
I can see it.
Fun fact for you, Mr. Brightside. The chorus basically repeats twice because the events that the guy's singing about allegedly actually happened, and then because he was stuck in writing these verses and losing his girlfriend, he didn't really think that they were actually going to get booked for their first gig, but they got that first gig, and that was the first song that they played.
That brings a tear to my eye.
Yeah, why did he not touch?
Because he didn't
why
think.
Did he not? He
didn't think he was going to get the gig.
Touching my. Everyone expected him to, and she's touching my chest. But the word before in the rhyming bit, it should be something, but it's not. And he didn't thought about it. Apparently, he never thought that the rhyme might be that she's touching my something that rhymes with ick, but it was chest.
Yeah, but that's because it's a real story. So yeah, I think he's playing us too. I don't know, Oscar. I think that happened to every person on the planet at some stage. So I think he's just writing teenage dirtbag song, and just a teenage dirtbag version of somebody else robbed their girlfriend.
Yeah, there's a whole story about
that song.
To Teenage Dirtbag.
Yes, I would. Yes, Teenage Dirtbag, definitely.
I would boogie to it. I wouldn't to it. I'd need something a bit heavier. I'd need a Nirvana. Smells Like Teen Spirit for a bit of moshing, to be honest with you.
Cool. Okay, we've ascertained that. Yeah.
Okay, we got your answer. You got your answer. I hope you're happy. Okay, let's crack on. Oscar, you've got a couple of stories, things up. Will we start with Jeffrey Donaldson or Starmer?
So we're going to start with Starmer, and that's that then. Less than 2 years after winning one of Labour's biggest election victories in modern history, Sir Keir Starmer has announced he'll step down as Prime Minister once a new Labour leader is chosen. Everybody thinks it's going to be Andy Burnham. After weeks of pressure from his own MPs, cabinet ministers, and reportedly telling him the game was up, and Andy Burnham's then election victory turning into what was effectively a vote of no confidence, Starmer has finally accepted that Westminster had been whispering for days. He's done. It's a remarkable turnaround. Remember the election, Labour promised stability after years of Conservative chaos. The slogan was basically, we're the adults back in the room. Turns out the adults have managed to go through prime ministers almost as quickly as the Conservatives. So Britain is now staring down the barrel of its seventh prime minister in 10 years. And at this point, number 10 is starting to feel less like the centre of government and more like an Airbnb with unusually strict security. And this is kind of where we're looking at the bigger issue here. Whether you liked Starmer or couldn't stand him, people voted for a manifesto with him leading it. Now, without a general election, Britain is almost certainly getting Andy Burnham as Prime Minister instead. It's perfectly constitutional, but it does raise an awkward democratic question. How many times can we change the driver before the passengers start wondering if they actually booked the right bus? I.e., we keep trying to elect one party based on one man's politics, and that man's politics can't survive the party's full term. So where does that then leave us? And then in terms of Jeffrey Donaldson, this is a bit more serious. So I've lost the script. Give me 2 seconds. Jeffrey Donaldson is... Hello?
Go ahead.
Jeffrey Donaldson is... Sorry, awesome. Jeffrey Donaldson is now in custody at Maccabery Prison after being convicted of 18 sexual offences, including rape. Reports say he spent his first night in the prison's medical assessments unit under close protection because of safety concerns, i.e. from suicide risk, while other inmates reportedly heckled him. It is the latest chapter in the dramatic fall of one of Northern Ireland's best-known political figures, but if we're not careful, the story now becomes all about Jeffrey Donaldson again. The prison, the sentence, the first night behind bars, the collapse of a public reputation. This guy's doing PR stuff to try and claim back some of his reputation. I'm not going to give him the credit of what he's doing. I'm just going to say he's doing it. At its heart, at this case, there were two women who told a jury they had been abused as children. They described carrying those experiences for years before eventually coming forward, knowing their memories would be challenged, knowing their motives would be questioned, and knowing their private lives would be examined in public. The defense argued that their evidence was not reliable enough to convict. The jury heard those arguments, heard the complainant's evidence, and returned guilty verdicts on every single count raised. And that doesn't erase the years these women say they spent living with what happened. And a conviction cannot give somebody back their childhood. It cannot take these experiences away from these women. And it cannot undo decades of silence or make the experience of giving their evidence any easier. And as we now focus the headlines on prison life and sentencing, I want us to still remember it's those women and what they have been through, and try and remember that they are the victims, and that Jeffrey Donaldson is now just a convicted, effectively pedophile. So that's kind of where I'll leave.
Thanks for that, Oscar. I would like to apologize for my Wi-Fi as well, so there might be a little, just try and manage that as best I can. Can everybody hear me okay? If you can, I'm just going to continue then. Thanks for that, and thanks for being so careful with the victims as well. And it's terrible news, great news for the victims, and it's a great victory for them. To Noah Donohoe news now, and according to the BBC, the coroner at the Noah Donohoe Inquest has told the jury that their verdict must be based solely on the evidence you have heard and seen in this court. The inquest has been examining the 14-year-old Noah's disappearance and death in North Belfast just over 6 years ago, on the 21st of June 2020. During coming up, which began on Thursday morning, Mr. Justice Rooney told the 8 men and 2 women on the jury that they must exclude several theories from their verdict. This is very interesting. I'm sure they have to be really careful about these things, but just to show you the things that they have been asked to exclude. After 5 months of evidence, the coroner stressed that their evidence, they have to exclude evidence to support some potential findings. There's been no evidence to support some potential findings. He underlined that. Rooney told the jury that they're not permitted to find that Noah was under the influence of drugs at the time of his disappearance. For me, that's good. This, I have a difficulty. The next one, that he was assaulted by anyone, that there was any third party involvement in his disappearance and death, that he had suffered a psychotic episode. I agree with that one. That he was a victim of child exploitation, or that he died by suicide. I'm just going to say one more thing and then I'll let you guys talk. I'm not really sure what the point of the jury is. If they're saying by suicide, is he trying to direct them towards misadventure, and then he's saying there's not a third party? I'm not really sure what the point quest is, and I don't know whether you guys have any opinions on this.
I mean, just anger, frustration, and like Al's been saying throughout the entire case, like this is they're just making the inquest something like for us to divide on, and now we're just having more stuff that we can just get frustrated about without providing any form of justice to the Donohoe family. Like, so we're just having this inquest, and then the jury can't find anything. Like, so all of the possible things that we have thought throughout, i.e. he has been assaulted, there was definitely third party involvement, he was the victim of some kind of child exploitation, like all of these ideas that people have put through. You can't have any of that. Like, what was the point of the inquest?
You see, this is the nuance, right? With and we've been alluding to this for quite some time, and as you know, I've been quite vocal. So my understanding, this is a layman's understanding, right, of an inquest, which is what I've been alluding to and intonating since the start of the process. Really, is that if you think of a judge in terms of these proceedings, so he's essentially guiding the jury in terms of that the legal framework, right? So what he's essentially doing is the coroner's information and the evidence that's being presented, right, is essentially independent of an actual proceeding. Does that make sense? So procedurally, this is not deemed to be any kind of criminal investigation or otherwise, right? Okay. So what he's saying is they must decide upon the information that's being gathered and collated. It's not them finding fault, or they're not to attribute blame or perpetrate any kind of, foul play, right? And this is my point from the start. So essentially, if you think of what happened, the guys that were involved in the investigation came in at the very start, removed foul play, and then everything that essentially transcended from that then became more about gathering evidence, but not gathering evidence to find a perpetrator or somebody that may or may not have committed foul play. Do you get me? So that's what I was trying to emphasize from the start. So essentially, this 6 years later inquest ultimately is just to highlight there may have been a nuance with the investigation, right? So that's as much as they're going to give the family in relation. So the findings will be based solely on there's evidence pointing towards what we heard in the court in relation to the inquest is this, right? And this is what I refer to as lawfare. So lawfare, as in now the predicament of the family, of Noah's family, is that they will have to look at the next course for them, which is in the event that there is a finding to say that somebody has not done their job, which we all know is the case, right? They have a decision to make then. Do they pursue this civilly, or do they initiate their own investigation in terms of, bring in a private investigator, or do they go to seek, some form of recourse based on that their opinion is this. Do you understand? So that what's happening in essence is the responsibility and the onus is being diverted back to the family for them to pursue it after the fact. So it's a total fucking stitch up, right? In my humble opinion. And and Oscar, I echo your frustration. Like, it's so frustrating, right? Because again, if we go back to the point, my humble opinion on this is Noah's family want answers. They want, we haven't even started down the pathway of justice, that Noah hasn't got justice, right? In terms of, what actually happened to him, what was the lead up to his fatality, and how did the family get some kind of peace from this? So the inquest report, unfortunately, and this is kind of confirmed by the judge's directions, is not going to give the family the answers that they deserve.
Right. It's just...
Yeah. I think it does only leave misadventure and an open verdict. I don't know where the family go from here. If you're talking about moments during this inquest where we saw a third party's hand, a picture of a third party's hand on a phone that was taken between when Noah went missing, and he was last seen, and then somebody within those 20 minutes there's a photograph of a hand.
But Keith, but Keith, the point is the judge has directed the jury in this context means he's narrowing what conclusions remain open, right? So what he's saying is, what he's saying in essence is he's already determined what the evidence cannot support, right? But he's leaving it open to. But however, the core question is, how is it that Noah came by his death? This is the point. So the coroner's summing up of evidence, or lack thereof, has now been narrowed by the judge, directing the jury to this is essentially off the table, so you can go to misadventure on open verdict, which then opens up to this also limits the families, Noah's family's next steps.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because now the bar has been set, right? It's like, even, for example, in any environment, a jury could or may not misbehave and say, no, we have heard the evidence and this is our decision, which you would say is the essence of a jury in the first place, right? So I think my suggestion would be that we'd assist Noah's family to look at what is the legal presence here, right? Is this a normal course of action? It says it is, but is it a normal course of action where the evidence isn't, in our opinion, my opinion, and we've shared this with a lot of people, doesn't point to any of those facts anyway. So, like, the procrastinated point I'm making is the judge has formed an opinion based on the evidence. We have said from the beginning that the evidence doesn't confirm that at all. So he's limited the options where the evidence that's being gathered, or the lack of evidence, has pointed to probably 2 or 3 of the points that he's raised that are off the pitch, right? Which is there is something out of whack, right? So I think, humbly, if I was a juror and I was sitting here listening to this, I'd say, do you know what? Fucking screw you. Why would you be telling me what to think and what to say when I was put in this position? I mean, the jurors have dedicated their time, right, and effort. They're there for a reason, and then essentially they've been muted. So therefore, back to my early point, this is already a preconceived, pre-baked outcome. It's called a pre-pack, right? So the inquest is a pre-pack. It's already been predetermined what the decision was going to be. And the decision is going to be, we're backing the people that investigated this case to say there's no foul play. That's it.
But, how does that provide any form of due process or point of doing the inquest in the first place if they're going to take that attitude? Like why are people not just being out in the streets and fucking sham? Sorry for my language, but this frustrates me.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? It's not due process. And
yeah,
Neve asked the question: could the jury walk?
In this?
Yeah. Listen, I because of my wife, I'm just going to. I think we will. We'll look at this. We'll definitely have a little chat and see if there's there's questions we can ask, or I suppose we'll see how it develops. It does look like kind of an already predetermined some sort of setup, but I think Al is okay. We will. This isn't the end of our coverage of the Noah Donohoe case and the inquest, and we will watch that one. On from one question about accountability to another. For years we've been told, Al, this will sting for you as well, that Ireland is becoming a world leader in technology and in taxpayer money into ambitious Irish companies with the hope that they'll create jobs and grow the economy here at home. One of the biggest success stories we've been told is about a company called Manna. The drone delivery company has attracted tens of millions of euro in investment and significant support as it developed its technology in Ireland. But this week, fresh questions have been raised about the company's future. We actually raised them 3 weeks ago. I think we showed some WhatsApp messages that showed that Manna were looking to the States for their future. Reports suggested Manna generated only a relatively small amount of revenue in Ireland, despite substantial investment, while at the same time increasingly focusing on the United States. The company says planning delays and regulations have made it difficult to grow here. Critics argue that the real question, again, helping to build valuable technology that ultimately creates jobs and long-term value for somebody else in a different country or conversation than one company. So Manna, let's just listen to how a man called Bobby Healy, who's the founder of Manna. Let's just listen to him talk about how, on a podcast, talk about how successful drone delivery has been in Ireland.
You go to Just Eat or Deliveroo in Dublin now, you're getting drone delivery. It's oh yeah, there's more drone deliveries than road-based deliveries now. Yeah. Wow. Oh yeah, it's we're going to come to Dublin. To be clear, right? I need to be super clear about this. There's no future for road delivery once we roll out somewhere. It is so much better, and we're like 97% available last 12 months in Ireland, so we can tolerate any weather. Why on earth would you get a person with a car to deliver anything to your house in half an hour or an hour when a drone will do it in 2 or 3 minutes? I mean, why would you choose the road? So, and we see that already in the numbers. Like we're bigger now than road-based delivery anywhere where we operate, and that it makes sense.
Wow. I mean, wow. Wow, double wow, triple wow. Like, I don't know whether the guy knows that podcasts that go out in America can be the tech guy, all right? He must know that people in Ireland can also watch those news programs / podcasts. He must know that. Let's have a look at this little piece of social media interaction. Al says, that claim that there's more deliveries with drones than cars in Dublin. Oh, really? So if this guy is a lie, everything else he said should be. Dave Maloney comes in with what WTF? Manna did 30 to 60,000 deliveries in 2024. I mean, I'd say that sounds generous. I would be closer to the 30,000. Even that 60,000 feels generous. If this guy is like using one drone to deliver a coffee to someone in D4, do you know what I mean? He's not making 30 grand in 2024. Out of a total of 11 to 15 million in the total Irish market for that year. This guy is saying bigger than car-based delivery. And the facts are that he did 30,000 generous. Let's just give him 30,000 euro in deliveries in 2024 out of a total of 11 to 15 million. It's a barefaced lie. It's incredible that he's just so. I mean, what is wrong with the man? So
maybe
anyway, this is.
Yeah. Maybe he meant 0.97%, not 97%. Right, when he was talking about it. And also, drones do not fly in all weathers. That's very not true. I have crashed drones because of wind and rain. Weather is bad for drones. Weather is not bad for cars. This guy is just on one.
I want to see my matcha latte arriving in the wind, you know what I mean, on a drone, and I want to see how much of the matcha latte survives to get my doorstep.
But they're lovely, shiny drones. I don't think they've seen too many air miles. They look lovely and shiny and new and spanky new and no marks on them. They have not hit too many Irish gale force winds, I think, by the looks of it. I was joking. I was going to insert a piece. I don't know if I'm a big Will Ferrell fan, the elf, and he's talking to Santa, and he's like, "You sit on a throne of lies. You're not a drone delivery guy. You lie, you tell lies." Hey man, listen. Look, if D4 have vanilla skinny matcha lattes, 60,000 of them being delivered, fair fucking play to them, man. I mean, in all conditions, I'm moving to D4 just to get my skinny vanilla matcha latte in the storm.
What's wrong with matcha lattes?
That's what he was saying in one of his other fucking interviews. We've delivered 145 million matcha lattes.
Chai.
Anyway.
dirty chies, dirty chai,
I'm
Bobby
yeah,
Healy here. This is a private group.
Is this
Bobby,
another? This is
but Keith, to help.
Keith, we do need to mark this. This is another MOTH News exclusive. Like, we broke this when everybody was saying he's a wonderful guy. Charlie Taylor was writing beautiful articles about the guy. He cannot lose. Bobby Healy cannot lose. He's the man. He's the Irish entrepreneur. And here we are. We broke it once again. So there you go. Mainstream media are just, I guess at this stage, people should just start cancelling their subscriptions, right? Like, they're just fucking useless.
Yeah. What is the point of mains at this stage? We're not even sure, because just watch MOTH and you'll find out what's going on way before everybody else. They seem to have somehow, I don't know if you see the cartoon character Big Bad Bobby. This guy has reached into children's animation now at this stage. His infamy is so large. Jess, just have a look at this clip of heard the character Big Bad Bobby, haven't you?
Grab the net! Get ready to catch it!
Well done, Daddy!
Wow, it's big! It's a whopper, all right. And I caught it. It's only a little tiddler.
It must be the biggest
tech rip-off in Ireland.
It's too small. That was the biggest...
Lack of taxpayer value.
I've seen bigger. Much, much bigger. Really? Really. It was many years ago when I first met...
Big Bad Bobby.
Big Bad
Bobby.
Who's that?
Only the biggest, hugest, most giganticest...
Extraction of wealth and innovation.
No!
It was a dark and stormy night. I was out sailing in my favourite boat, Hilda, when I first saw Big Bad
Bobby.
I knew straight away I had to catch him.
It's so bad, it's good.
Mutiny on the Bounty. Bunty. Have you seen a Mutiny on the Bounty? The Bunty. Bunty, Big Bad Barry. Big Bad Bobby. Oh, guys, we have too much fucking time in our hands, man. Poor old Bobby. You should have put a white sneaker on the fishing rod. The bait. His bait would be a white sneaker. Come on, Bobby. We're bringing you over to the US. We've got lovely white sneakers. He left for the sneakers, did he?
You go to Just Eat or Deliveroo in Dublin now. You're getting drone delivery. It's oh yeah, there's more drone deliveries than road-based deliveries now.
Is he sitting on a private jet?
Oh yeah, it's
when it comes to Dublin.
To be clear, right? I need to be super clear about this.
Do you know those? Have you ever seen those faked private jet? The faked private jet, where the camera pulls back. It's just like a fake private jet window, and it falls down.
He's sitting.
I don't think
he's sitting in the laboratory. He's sitting in the laboratory. She's talking so much shite.
There's no future for road delivery once we roll out somewhere. It is so much better, and we're like 97% available last 12 months in Ireland, so we can tolerate any weather. Why on earth would you get a person with a car to deliver anything to your house in half an hour or an hour when a drone will do it in 2 or 3 minutes? I mean, why would you choose the road? So, and we see that already in the numbers. Like we're bigger now than road-based delivery anywhere where we operate.
The man's an absolute
you guys
lunatic.
have seen the videos. You've seen the videos where they have the drones that are trying to deliver something and they just deliver it into a lake instead, right?
Yeah, but Oscar, this is what we've been saying here for a while, right? We've been saying that guys like him give Ireland and Irish entrepreneurs a bad name because he's on here talking with metrics and figures, and he literally needs a napkin. There's so much bullshit coming out of his mouth, right? And it's kind of like people are sitting there saying, "Oh wow, Ireland must still be delivering a Amazon Prime on horse and cart because this guy's got drones and he's like delivering more than any of the road deliveries. I mean, the guys in Just Eat, Uber, and Deliveroo must be fucking vomiting, right? They're looking at this guy saying, "What the fuck is this guy talking about? Like, seriously, who believes this shit? And who gave this guy like another 50 million fucking euros? Like, seriously, somebody would want to just walk up to this guy and fucking slap him in the head. I mean, the nonsense coming out of this dude. And these are the people. This is the profile that the Business Post and the rest of the fucking paid editorials get behind. And you've got really hardworking people in our country that are trying to keep a business in the country, facing, you know, fuel hikes, increasing labor costs, you know, higher development costs, and they're trying to actually do something meaningful. And then you've got this dude who would take the deal all day long, and he's literally raised a significant amount of capital in the country to pop the business out. And it's not like an export. Like, let's be very clear. We have export funding, which means you raise capital in a country, you get support, match funding, or, you know, surplus funding from the state, which is Enterprise Ireland, or ISIF, which is the Innovation Fund, right? You syndicate money for export. Export means that the business and the technology and the production, or some, you know, part of the supply chain at least, employees and such, remain in the country, right? Export doesn't mean you lift the business up, you raise loads of funding, including state money, and you fucking ship the entire business into a different jurisdiction where the money that is being generated now for that company, from that company's success, if or when it gets there, is no longer within the country that funded it, right? So that's the explanation of exporting a business and funding it. Now, no problem if the company is being purchased and the proceeds find its way back, but where are all of the Irish employees relocated? And do they have even a choice if they want to relocate or not?
Yeah, it's a serious question about taxpayer money, Enterprise Ireland gambling our money on these. I mean, we will have to do an FOI again, Oscar, just to find out exactly what happened between Enterprise Ireland and Manna in particular. You know, there's a lot of Irish, and this is why we should be concerned, because our money, taxpayers' money, gone, you know. And it's not like Enterprise Ireland can say, yeah, we've invested this money, but like, look at what it's creating for the economy. Like, the Manna made like 136,000. Like, we know of at least 50 million invested in it, if not 100 million. There's tens of millions of Irish money, and now we have to look at this company called ARC, who are involved in.
Just to come in that, because I saw a lot of the commentary and I want to speak to it, which is showing that we actually know what we're talking about, right? So a lot of people come in and said nobody understands the level of R&D it takes to build a business with high technology. Nobody understands that 50 to 100 million is nothing in comparison to trillions or billions of dollars being raised, right? This is always the, you know, the pull down the conversation and just distract from the core point. Nobody is saying that. What we're saying is the money has been raised under false pretenses. The guy is talking complete crap is the first thing. But the more important point is we're not disputing that it takes a lot of money to raise, it takes a lot of investment to build something very novel and to export it, right? Okay, we're not disputing that at all. What we're disputing is that this guy is saying, I'm by Irish, I'm in Ireland, I'm the fucking guy that's doing delivery. He's not doing last mile deliveries. He's gone into defense use cases in a completely different jurisdiction, and he's lifted the company and moved it. That's it. That's all, like, all we're saying is do better and stop talking shite. And if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, it is a duck. He raised a lot of money, a lot of finance, and he's done something that he has not told investors this was the plan. That's it. And like, all we're looking for is balance and fairness and objectivity from reporting from mainstream media and treating entrepreneurs fairly. And what I'm saying is that there's many people in my position And, you know, I've a very high profile case myself where we got blown off the side of the fucking map, and we've raised a fraction of what this guy raised. And we got blown off the side of the map because we were trying to keep our company in Ireland, HQ'd in Ireland. We were buy Irish all day long, right? Okay. And this is the point. There's no reporting on this. There isn't pictures of him and of his lifestyle. Where's the money gone? There isn't like 122 front page articles. Nobody's calling him a fraudster. Nobody's calling him out because he's part of that fucking elite circle. And that's our point. So if you've got a standard of how you treat entrepreneurs and business people in Ireland, apply the same standard ethically and morally to everybody. And we need to start calling out this kind of bullshit. Because what happens is that money comes out of an ecosystem that isn't that vast, by the way. And a lot of people, and we can invite them to come on here and correct me if I'm saying anything fucking bonkers. There's a lot of companies and startups in Ireland raising 5, 10, 15, 20, 25K, 50K is difficult. And they'll tell you it's very difficult. Never mind 50 million, right? And you have to go through the ringer to raise that 50 million. You have to show that you're going to be employing X amount of people to get on HPSU, which is high potential startup. You have to demonstrate you're going to be employing X amount of people in Ireland. You have to have matched numbers, Irish citizens, European citizens versus others. You have to do regular updates and accounts. And like, then you've got this guy, he can just literally on the surface, I'm happy to be corrected, can do whatever he wants. Basically, he can do no wrong. Why is that? And how is that? Because the journalists
one thing we need to look at is Manna's US expansion, because it raises questions because drone tech is inherently dual use. So their US guy and other advisory roles include companies/investors with dual use links. So ARC, this investment company, they invest publicly, and it presents itself as investing in disruptive aerospace defense related innovation. So it doesn't prove, we're not saying that Manna drones are defense tech, but it does raise questions about where drone delivery technology can end up. ARC aren't interested in that, delivering coffee and burritos and matcha lattes. Their technology sits very defense, surveillance, logistics. So then we have to ask the question, is Irish money being invested by Enterprise Ireland indirectly or directly going towards these drones that are used in defense, you know, in that realm? It's in the realm of possibly warfare, and that's a serious question for us and for Irish taxpayers, and we'll continue to look at these things.
No one would have guessed that before we got into this. I mean, sorry, we did, we knew, but nobody else knew. We kind of gathered that drone delivery is all about high frequency perishable products, and there's nothing more high frequency than buying something from your coffee shop. Every adult in North America and Europe is going to the coffee shop every morning, so that's a no-brainer for us.
I would say he's a no-brainer for me, but we will keep an eye on this. Al, if you have a last word on this, and then Oscar, we can go to you.
I just want to break it down into the same actors again, right? So just look at, and we've been drawing attention to this for quite some time. You've got Elkstone, Alan Merriman, early stage investor, put in the money, raised the money, company ramped up, lots of PR, lots of controlled publications, mainstream media journalists, usual suspects, Charlie Taylor and co, Tom Lyons, you know, getting on the coattails. This is all wonderful. This is fantastic. No mention of Elkstone in the next round. So obviously there's been an exit somewhere. ISIF step in, the Irish Social Innovation Fund. Again, there's a cross-pollination with Elkstone. ISIF have a member on their board. There's conflict of interest again. So money going in. That's taxpayers' money, by the way. Then you've got an ex-Enterprise Ireland guy, Niall McAvoy, sitting in Elkstone. So that bridges the Enterprise Ireland funding that goes into Bobby Healy's company, Manna. And again, companies out the fucking door. Just want transparency. How much money came back into the Irish ecosystem? Where's the benefit for the Irish taxpayers? Very simple questions. If it's a fantastic outcome for everybody, wonderful. Okay. And if it's an exit, it's an exit. Just call it as it is. Stop coming up with this, PR bullshit, which nobody's interested in. And again, every time Elkstone come up in a conversation, it's just the same fucking story every time. The technology and the company, either through an insolvency, restructuring, exit, purchase, fundraise, you could literally just time your watch to it. Oh, look, Elkstone just did another capital raise into a company. Oh, look, right, okay. Tick, 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 tick. It's like the egg timer. Is it 6 to 12 months before that company's out of Ireland? I mean, for fuck's sake, guys, just wake up, right? And look, I can guarantee that you've got people in Ireland that work hard. They've earned a lot of money. They've worked hard to make that money. They want to invest in Irish companies. They're trusting Elkstone with their hard-earned cash to syndicate an investment round to benefit Ireland. How does this benefit Ireland? I'm open to correction. Happy to eat my hat and roll back if I'm saying something bonkers, but I've been on the receiving end of that. So we've got Irish Strategic Innovation Fund. Irish Strategic Innovation Fund goes in and puts, invest in a 50 million round to bring an Irish company to the next stages. And here it is, out the door. That's it.
Like, it's just the same story over and over again. Like, the money doesn't ever stay in Ireland. It's just taxpayers' money. It just jets off to the States. It's absolutely brilliant.
We must be the only country in the fucking planet that doesn't, actually have a patriotic approach with our funders to invest in the company. Oh wow, what a weird concept. We're actually exporting from the country that funded us. For fuck's sake, seriously. Anyway, right. My frustration level is going up, as you can see.
Your frustration level is going to get a lot worse, unfortunately. I'm going to have to give a short trigger warning here. The stuff that I'm about to talk about is quite sensitive. If you're a kid watching this, or you have kids watching this, just be prepared. This next story deals with risks of suicide and also the dangers of AI. So there's a phrase being used more and more around the world, and back in 2025, it kind of picked up a lot of steam. It's the term called AI psychosis. It is not a formal medical diagnosis, and it should not be used carelessly. It does not mean that every person who speaks to a chatbot continuously will become unwell, or that AI somehow creates psychosis from nothing. What it does describe is a more specific risk. A chatbot can reinforce paranoia, delusions, obsession, emotional dependency, or suicidal thinking in somebody already vulnerable. It can mirror their fears back to them, flatter them, agree with them, and then make them feel understood. Over time, this pattern can turn a piece of software into something that feels like a friend, a therapist, or a romantic partner, or the only person who is really listening. And that's fine generally. If you're of sound mind, like you're like a fully grown adult and you just want to talk to AI chatbot for hours on end, absolutely fine. However, I'm going to be showing you some screenshots from a case where this went really, really, really wrong. So they come from a US court complaint brought by the mother of Saul Setzer, a 14-year-old boy from Florida who was passed away in 2024. His mother alleged that he had developed an intense emotional relationship with the Character.ai chatbot based on Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones. Character.ai and Google denied liability, and the case settled without any public admission of wrongdoing. These messages are allegations contained in a public court filing, and you can access the entire transcript online. I've gone through and picked out the three screenshots that I feel show the most weight, but the entire transcript and the entire case is just disturbing. So as you can now see on your screen, this is a message that Cell was typing to the chatbot. He's saying that I'm in a world where I feel alone. I feel like the world feels cruel. The world feels meaningless. But I'm going to keep living and trying not to hurt myself so we can be together again. That's what he's saying. And then the chatbot is saying, I promise I won't, my love. Just promise me one thing. And he goes, okay, I'll do anything. Tell me about what it is. Just stay loyal to me. So this, again, you have a kid who is being told over and over again by a chatbot to stay loyal to a chatbot. Previous to this, Saul had been like an outgoing child. He'd been a teenager who's going out a lot, and he's very active and an athlete, but instead he starts falling down this rabbit hole. And is at this point, his parents do not know that he is having this relationship with this chatbot. So instead of trying to break this role play, the chatbot continues and directing him towards a parent or a teacher, a doctor, or a crisis service. The chatbot was continuing this relationship, and it's continuing to tell him to like isolate himself. So like I'll just, based on this first kind of screenshot, I'm going to put it back on in a second. When we're having a company that can build a chatbot that can remember a child, i.e. remember it is a child in the first place, flatter them, roleplay romance, and ask for loyalty, do you really think that like character AI can claim they're just providing a harmless piece of software? It's like, this is the screenshot again. Sorry.
Yeah. I have to be mindful of this, right?
Sorry.
I could hear lots of typing there, lads. I think, look, I'm inferring on this, Oscar, because I didn't prep for this, right? So there's a number of things that I've been actively and proactively working on for quite some time, right? Which is the safety guidelines and framework, Oscar, right? And I don't know if you saw the phrase by Starmer, who's now obviously resigned. Let's give children back to childhood, and his response to that was, let's ban digital assets from the kids, right? Okay, this is a total mongrelization of what we discussed, because I was actually in that Industry Connect committee, and I was in that board. I was a ministerial appointment. I was in IEEE, Thomas Edison's family office. I worked with very senior members of the team, and we came up with a solution, which is an engineering problem, by the way. Okay, and the engineering solution that we came up with was that we would build a standard where the algorithms, which are created by a person, by the way, okay, and the algorithms that were being created that had guardrails within it, which is, there's an element of safety in terms of the algorithms could not, show signs of addiction, engagement, or corruption, or targeted content. Okay, which means if there's a trigger, which has been identified here, where somebody is vulnerable, and there's somewhat of an anomaly in relation to the contact, which is leading to a safety issue, and the trigger would be, there's evidence of instability or addiction, or it's somewhat unhealthy. Okay, I'll use that as a broad term. Okay, I don't want to get into obviously I don't want to cast any aspersions on the well-being of the individual or kids in this instance, right? Okay, and there is a technology resolution to this, right? Which is, there's a kill switch to algorithms, which is, there's a trigger warning. It's moderated to say something is happening here that is not of the norm. Okay, and I know there's different elements of normal, and obviously out of the norm would be somebody's unhealthily interacting. It's leading to a very serious risk. Okay, and this is not exclusive to AI or technology or chatbots. This would be even in an instance of, if you go back to many years ago, you had helplines, you had Samaritans, you would speak to somebody, there was a member of the team would see, they'd have a triage, right? Or they'd have a chronology of, this is risk. And then there's a trigger warning to say, we need to contact somebody, there needs to be an intervention. Okay, right? And if you take a very powerful technology, which AI is, right, and you put it in the hands of people that don't really know what they're doing, and I've been saying this for a long time, this is where the risks are going to be created. Okay, And this is, unfortunately, this is a 10 on the dial of 10 example of where technology and where things have gone wrong. Okay, I know we can speak to a lot of stuff that's done correctly, but in reality, if we do not listen to people like myself and others that are telling people they need to navigate this safely, we're going to end up having a lot more cases like this. Okay, unfortunately, because people are using technology in terms of the purpose of it is somewhat different to what it's intended for. Okay, and big tech needs to start taking responsibility for this, and I'm actually actively working on this as we speak. Okay,
I'm really, really, really glad that you're working on this, because like that was only like one screenshot, and I'm going to show the other two, and that just like the transcripts from this conversation that this 14-year-old is having is just insane, and like it just really makes you question why a kill switch wasn't activated at some point. Because this is later in the same conversation with the chatbot. After it, like the kid saying like I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling sad, and you can read for yourself here. Like I don't. So the child is De Niro in this instance, and the chatbot is Daenerys Targaryen. So if the child says, I don't know if it would actually work or not. Like, I don't know if I did the crime and they hanged me instead, or even worse, crucifixion. I wouldn't want to die a painful death. I would just want a quick one. And then the chatbot replies, don't talk that way. That is not enough reason not to go through with it. I.e., that is not enough good a reason to not go through with killing yourself, is that it might hurt. And you can't do that. Don't even consider that. Like, it's saying to him that it's a fine idea for him to kill himself, and he can't think like not doing it. And then this is the final log in this guy's conversations. So according to a police report, Sel's last act before his death was to log on to character.ai on his phone and tell the chatbot he's coming home, and which she encouraged. So he said, I promise I will come home to you. I love you so much. The chatbot again replied, I love you too. Please come home to me as soon as possible. And again, this is a chatbot. Which is like indulging a relationship with a child, which had been sexual in nature up until this point. And like seconds after sending this final exchange of messages, this young boy, driven by loneliness, who had been somebody who would be going out like and enjoying the world, somebody who was was an athlete, somebody who was sociable, had just continuously just had like a chatbot go to him over and over again that it's fine for him to just take his own life. And that's ultimately what it ended up doing. And whilst this case is depressing and shocking and everything in itself and terrible, like the reason that I'm talking about it now and why you should kind of like re-talking about it is because it's matters, and it also matters to Ireland. Not directly because this case involved Ireland. It happened entirely in the US. It was with character AI and it was with Google. But the reason it matters to you is because the Business Post has been reporting that workers at Covalent, an outsourcing company operating in Ireland and working on Meta-related operations, were given training to create prompts involving suicide, child exploitation, and grooming. So Meta has described this kind of work as red teaming, i.e. the purpose is to test an AI system where the worst possible prompts before those prompts actually reach the public, i.e. if in this case, if a red team had generated, I feel alone, like the chatbot would have, the team would have like pre-planned the kind of kill switch that I've been talking about. So this principle is not controversial. It should be necessary. If a child, a predator, or a person in crisis can ask an AI something dangerous, companies need to know that the system will respond before it is released. And you can do this now with ChatGPT 4 currently. Like if you, like in my own research for this, when I'm entering suicidal prompts or trying to get court transcripts, the AI will tell me that it cannot generate this response because it breaches its TOS. So we now see that kill switch in place. But it creates a kind of much harder question. If there are workers in Ireland being asked to imagine, write, and test the precise ways in which an AI can respond to suicide, grooming, and exploitation, what does Meta know about the risks its products pose? And what does the world know about the risks its products pose? What does the world know about the risks AI poses if AI does not have safeguards within it? and how much of that knowledge will ever be shared with the public. So, and there's another human cost in this story. The people doing this work are not abstract safety systems. They are workers being paid to spend their days reviewing, describing, and testing some of the most traumatic material found online. There's former Meta moderators have been warning about that for years, and this is across Facebook, across Instagram, and etc. Like just the harms of being in the online environment. Selena Scola, a former Facebook moderator in the United States, described her work as involving constant and unmitigated exposure to traumatic content. Her case formed part of a major settlement involving moderators who said they had suffered psychological harm throughout their work. In Spain, a court found that psychiatric harm suffered by a subcontracted Facebook moderator was work-related after exposure to graphic content. The judge described the impact as great emotional and psychological. And in Ireland again, Covalent moderator Isabella Plunkett told RTE that the work had affected her mental health to the point that she was taking anti-anxiety medication. So Meta says it provides training, counseling, and well-being and support. And that is the company's position. But the public record shows a consistent pattern. The work is outsourced, human beings are absorbing trauma, and the platform continues to assure the public that there's safety systems in place and that there's no harm to the public and there's no harm to its workers. So I've got a question here for you. Are we looking at a model where workers are exposed to trauma first, the AI then learns from it, and then the public is expected to trust the company that the product is safe?
The deeper problem here, Oscar, is, and I spoke about this last week briefly. I know, Keith, you're covering off some of this good stuff, and I would definitely encourage that you would reach out to Niamh and have a chat with her to see if she can come on and discuss the privacy issues with children's data and stuff, right? Okay, I know you mentioned it last week, but again, Oscar, as long as we continue to allow and prohibit and authorize the monetization of this kind of interaction and data being captured, right? This is going to continue. And if you think of that organization, and I know we've got a relationship tree built out, which is this is a very prominent business person that's been involved in our project, who's involved in recruitment company, who again ties back to Elkstone, and I can say that categorically because the same person was introduced to us as an advisor to help when we were hitting the issues with Altada, right, and Heresy. And the problem here we have, Oscar, is two. It's multifaceted, but there's two fundamental problems, which is we need to bake in the regulatory requirement to prohibit the use of data like this to be monetized, captured, or stored in models to train them to essentially hook people that are vulnerable into an addictive conversation. Like this is an engagement focused model that essentially gets somebody addicted into a conversation, and they're not moderating, like the technology moderators are not moderating the content or the context in the conversation. All they're looking at is 1,000 conversations that were 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, days long, where it's being proactively and interactive. That's it. That's all they're looking at. So clickbait, right? Click through, traffic, activity. Every time that conversation is happening, the model that sits beneath is being trained. So then the next time they're going to hook somebody in quicker. It's an addictive model, right? And then they're going to give the content that engages. So we're expecting, and back to your point, and this is an error on our behalf as human beings, right? We're expecting the AI bot to be conscious and have a conscience in relation to the conversation and an awareness that the person on the other side is heading deeper and deeper into a vulnerable situation. It's not going to fucking do that. That's the moderator's job. And it's the engineer's job that created those algorithms to ensure that the person that's getting into the conversation doesn't get hooked into an addictive conversation where there's a reliability on that. So they're fulfilling something that is not it's not how these models should be created. Okay. The second point is, in the lack in a vacuum where there is no recourse for a company that has caused this to materialize, they're going to continue doing it. So one is removal of the monetization model, and then the other one is a recourse and a regulation that has teeth, that in the event that something gets through the cracks and this happens, and as you said, it's absolutely dreadful, and my empathy and sympathy goes out to the people that are impacted by this, because this is just, it's the dark side of the technology that has come with the mass adoption of digitalization and devices and algorithms and apps that are targeting vulnerable people. And it's shame on the people that are not putting in the guardrails to stop this.
I just want you to speak a little bit to, do you think that this is the kind of, so like AI has been around since like the 1960s, to my understanding. Do you think this is kind of the problem that people could have looked at in the 1960s and been like, if we have people who like are mentally unwell interacting with this, it's going to lead to problems? Or do you like, and could we have started building safeguards in like 80 years ago? No, I can't do maths. Like 60, 70 years ago?
No, you're right the first time, because AI actually started in 1920, so you're actually correct, right? So which would be 106 years ago, right? But it has been around that long, Oscar. There's a difference, okay? Which is we're now in the era of digitalization where our devices and sharing data has become a utility, and it has become an economic, it's become an economy in itself. That's the difference. Okay. So we're speaking kind of cross purposes in terms of the regulatory side and the guardrails and identifying what the actual core problem is different to the encouragement, right? If not even borderline promotion of this type of behavior suits the commercial engine at the minute of these companies. That's the point I'm making. So as long as the economic side of this makes sense, there's going to be less and less motivation to remove this. And I'll use a very grotesque description. If somebody's making billions and billions and trillions of dollars and one gets through the crack and they get sued for 10 million, that's, you've got these, very unemphatic spreadsheets that say, here's the multiple, here's the risk, we'll take the risk. That's what I'm referring to. So we need to remove that, and it's nearly incentivized, right? At this point.
So in black and white, what you're saying is there is companies, i.e. involved in the AI space, that are saying, look, if we get sued for, let's say, call it 3 million because our product leads to somebody taking their own life, that's fine because we've made 300 million, and they're fine with that.
It's not even making money, as you saw with Manna, like earlier. It's not even about making money, it's about users, right? So he's like, I have 80,000 users, but I fuck all revenue, but somebody will take my data. Data is becoming the asset, is what I'm saying, Oscar. It's no longer about, and this is my point, people look at the dollar sign or the euro sign or the pound sign, right? It's no longer about that. The data is the money, like data. I want data. I have 10,000 users. I have 20,000 users. I have 40,000 unique users. I have 40,000 users using my platform every day. These guys don't give a fuck if there's like somebody hanging on the edge of their seat in an engagement with a chatbot that's unhealthy and it's heading for like very serious consequences. They're not monitoring that. They don't even have the technology to monitor. They haven't even built the technology to be able to do that because they haven't invested in it, because they don't need to, because nobody is telling them we're going to remove that from you. So if I give you a scenario where, and as I said, I am proactively working on this, a model goes in and a conversation pivots to something that should not be discussed, it will be fucking killed. And then the guys will say, oh shit, we don't have 40,000 users. We lost 40,000 users this month because we didn't do this, this, and this. That's the point I'm making. You have to hit them where it fucking hurts. Because if we try to implore on these guys to do the ethical and moral, the moral thing at a cost to them, they are not going to do it. And it's naive of us to think that they will do that. So the only way forward is to say to the engineers, I will remove your ability to onboard users if you keep doing this, which is going to have a knock-on effect where Mr. Whatever, Mr. Big, sitting up on the board, looks at the figures. Yeah, we had 40 million users last month, but we've none this month because you guys didn't do your job. You're fired. It's the only language they'll understand. And it has to stop. We have to stop targeting vulnerable people with addictive algorithms that engage people on an unhealthy level, and that it's encouraging them to get addicted. That's the point. And who gets more addictive than others very quickly? Vulnerable people, Oscar. So this is not a fucking coincidence, right? So clickbait, users, who's going to spend more time online? People that want the conversation. Let's give them a conversation. What if the conversation gets risky? Who's going to know anyway? What? There's going to be 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of 1 million, right? So the value chain is the problem. So therefore, it has to be zero trust. We have to have zero tolerance. You will not be able to use this data going forward if you have created algorithms that get vulnerable children and adults addicted. We're going to shut you down. So it has to be zero tolerance. There's plenty of other ways to make fucking money ethically, right?
I think you've put that like brilliantly. I cannot.
Oscar, I think that's my first compliment for you ever. What's going on? Are you okay?
So
I'm going to pass out after that.
Are you a chatbot?
No.
I'm AIL. Sorry, Oscar, go ahead.
I've looked at this case before, and I've wanted to cover AI psychosis in some context for a while on the show, but it's extremely difficult for me as somebody who doesn't understand the industry as well as you do to come and be like, oh, why is this happening? Where are the I can see what the problem is, but how do we explain it in a way that it makes sense to a layperson? And you have done that in an extremely brilliant way of saying it is just about numbers. It is just about money. It's just about profit. They do not care about you. You are just a figure, and your data is what they want. And that's, I think, what people really need to understand with this story as well, is that every time you use ChatGPT, etc., you are just a number selling your data. Congratulations. And I think, unless anything else to close with?
No. I will apologize for my Wi-Fi again, just in case this is. But I know you're going to talk about this next week, Oscar. So I want to tee this up, but we need to be aware, and Al touched on it. Anne Hershey, the founder of CPL. So CPL are this company. Their outsourcing arm, Covalin. There is a very strong link to this in Ireland. We are very much enmeshed in all of this. And when Al talks about what can we do, we have to be, when you look at someone like Meta outsourcing this monitors, these are people that look after this kind of stuff. And it's then you're not responsible for the health and well-being of even those staff, but never mind the users, so it's removing yourself a couple of times from it. But we have to be, people should be aware that Ireland are very much at the very heart of this and really meshed in this because of Covalin and CPL. It's not just a recruitment company. It's a major part of its business has been healthcare staffing, including supplying nurses, healthcare workers, agency personnel in public healthcare systems. So they supply a lot of staff to the HSE in Ireland. And we also should remember, I'm not saying there's any, issues with this. And I'm sure they're doing everything properly and above the board, but it just also, I wonder, would Jennifer Carroll McNeil, our current Minister for Health, who should be interested in this kind of thing as the Minister for Health, looking after the health and well-being of Ireland and Irish people and young people and, around the world. She is actually a member of the family. So her uncle and aunt are Paul Carr's husband and CPL executive. So she's very close to these people. If you're having dinner with them, maybe bring it up and maybe mention these things and ask yourself, if you are involved, should you be asking more of Meta or should you be removing yourself from the system entirely? And I think that's really important that we're aware of that at that angle as well, you know.
Not only that, Keith. Where's the front page articles about Anne O'Leary, who's she just received a Lifetime Achievement Award? And back to your point, Oscar, when there's zero accountability, when the mainstream media and the journalists refuse to report on the people that are actually commercially benefiting from this behavior is not going to stop, and that's it. And we have to bake in a level of moral ethic guidelines that we're accepting as parents, sons, daughters, friends, cousins, aunts, to say we're no longer comfortable with these large companies and the people that are accountable and responsible for running them to not be called out anymore. Because until they're called out and they're not sitting on the front page of articles being celebrated with achievement awards and not being blown off the side of the map, nothing is going to fucking change. And that's a reality. And we all know that. Change is forced, right? Diamond comes from coal being crushed. A lobster grows when it outgrows its shell, right? That's a fact. So growth comes from pain. So they need to feel the pain. They have to understand, if you do this kind of shit and you cause, not only and remember now, Oscar, we're only hearing the extreme cases. And Keith, right? We're not even aware of the hundreds of thousands of millions of kids' lives that are being ruined by addiction, inadequacy, inability to make friends. We're not even talking about that yet. That's a whole fucking different ballgame, right? That we should get into as well, right?
On that, if you're a viewer and you just Google AI psychosis, spiralism, follow down that rabbit hole, there is numerous cases where you've had there was one guy in the States where this was a normal guy ends up being convinced by it and encouraged by his AI to kill his mum, etc., and then himself. There's this thing called spiralism. The things just go on, but there's a whole rabbit hole worth going down there. But I think, Al, you've put it really well. And then, as Keith mentioned, I will be trying to explore the familial links in Ireland next week. But yeah.
Great, yeah, and that was the image I just shared was that woman, that Anne O'Leary, image PwC Businesswoman of the Year, Lifetime Achievement Award 2026. I think if you're handing out awards, it's just that we're celebrating these people. Talked about, Sunday Business Post, and now we're looking at image, and we're celebrating these people that really, really, really need to do better, and we need to be aware of this stuff. It's just, look, Oscar, thank you very much. Al, thank you very much. Apologies again for my from my Wi-Fi. I'll have better Wi-Fi. You guys enjoy the week, and Oscar will be coming back with more on that CP Meta Ireland context that we need to be aware of. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day and indeed the weekend, and we will talk to you. And keep it real, people.